All right, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. Let's see if we can straighten this out a little bit. Let's get this right. Welcome back. Hope everybody's having a good September. Goodness, how did we get September already? Time flies when you're having fun. But hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's kicking at the end of the summer. Hope everybody's gardens are being harvested, as we like to talk about and encourage and stay motivated about, right? But the nature of this subject, hopefully the title, we'll see what it looks like when we get done. Something about like, why are you prepping? Why are you here? Why are you prepping on YouTube? Why are you searching prepping on YouTube? And asking all those questions. And I'm going to do this without notes. I really wanted to do it with notes. I should say with a visual aid. But circumstances do not allow at this time, as they say. So why are you here on YouTube looking at prepping videos? In particular, this is National Preparedness Month, and if there's ever been a time for prepper channels, preparedness channels, self-defense channels, all the people that are involved in those things, in these things, and doing the things, should really focus in on this month. Like, this is the opportunity to get some traction with some people. This is the time where people may get the message. This is a time where even your daddy, the federal government, decides that you maybe might want to think about having 3 days of food stocked up. They usually don't go much beyond that. Having some first aid kit, having your records backed up, having some digital copies, fire safe, those types of things. They really, they focus in, they stay focused. It's good to have a targeted message, right? But what often drives people, and what you hear a lot of, is get ready for nuclear war. There's impending civil war. The hurricane's coming. Get prepared. Which you need, whatever motivates you, I guess, to some extent, is good. Maybe, just maybe I can do this and insert my visual aids right now as I'm talking. We'll see if my Ludditeness has advanced past this point. But you're motivated by an event, potential of an event, impending doom, whatever it may be, right? That's what gets most people started in some way or fashion or another. The notice of impending harm in many cases. But we got to take advance back. We got to advance past that. I want to reintroduce everybody to the Midwest Prepper Pyramid. If everybody remembers this from years ago, we talked about this. This is like 2018, 2017 vintage stuff. Back when that guy known as Guns Coast to Coast was known as Midwest Prepper, the artist formerly known as. So that pyramid that we talked about on threats, and knowing what your threats are, what the base of your pyramid is. The base of your pyramid being those most likely, not usually the most harmful, but the most likely. If you're in a hurricane-prone area, hurricanes will be down there. Tornado, if you're in Tornado Alley. But most of us, it's house fire, theft, blackouts, power outages, small stuff that may last a couple of days, and it builds up the pyramid as it gets more severe and longer lasting. And some things like flooding, drought, earthquake can have the minimal effects at the bottom of the pyramid, or go all the way to the top at the pinnacle of the worst nuclear war, nuclear fallout, EMP, solar flare, where it's just catastrophic. It's a once in a lifetime, once in humanity's event, and that kind of caps off the top. It's like the least likely, but the most dangerous. But we got to advance past that, and we got to go into looking at what you're really preparing for, because you're not really preparing for a nuclear war. You can't stop it. You can't mitigate it. You can only avoid it, move away from fallout or prepare for fallout, for one example. But for flooding and other things, you're going to prepare for the rise of water to an extent, but it's all the other things that come along, the side effects, the after effects, the third order effects. Power outages come along with many things. Power outages can be a single event, or it can be an after effect of many other events, like civil disturbance can cause power outages. Civil disturbance can cause your sewer to go out, cause your water supply to go out. All these things, right? So that's really what you're preparing for, is those secondary effects, because you can't really affect the actual thing. Except at the very bottom of the pyramid. The very bottom of the pyramid, you can stop theft, hopefully. If you can't, you do things to mitigate it. House fire, you do things to mitigate it. So let's categorize it like that, right? There's certain things we can mitigate, but the big stuff, the stuff that drives people to YouTube, let me get back on track here. The stuff that drives people to YouTube, that drives people to come here and seek out information, nuclear war, EMP, solar flares, civil war, all these things, right? That's what really gets people driving their emotions to drive to action. But they really got to focus down. And if you're here because you've heard one of these catchwords or catch threats, these threats that are really catch your attention, remember what you're really preparing for. You're preparing for the power outages. How are you going to do without food supplies, regular supply chains broken, which we've pretty much all lived through at this point. You've lived through supply chain shortages of some nature. It could always get worse. Prepare accordingly, as some people would say. So that's what you're preparing for. So I want to encourage people to really focus in on what you're actually preparing for and not the actual threat, if that makes sense. Use this month to latch on to information that's put out there by others and expound and build upon it. What do I do if my water's out? What do I do if I don't have the ability to go to the store? I've never thought about it. I'll start thinking about it. Then think about how much you need to store for how many people you've got, and do your math. So much of prepping is just basic thought processes and math, and people put emotion into it and they get all messed up. And it's really bad is when you're trying to take action in emotional during the event. That's really bad. So you don't want to wait for that for sure, because that's how you get toilet paper shortages at the grocery store, or you're walking down the aisles in the middle of a grocery store with shortages of toilet paper and you don't have any, or you don't have the means to otherwise operate without it, which is also a good prepper method, right? Not needing toilet paper is an excellent plan. Not needing those supply chains, right? So having the things, but you can only do with what you have, with what you are and where you are. So plan accordingly. If you're living in a 15-story high-rise in a big megapolis, and you know you need to do something, figure out what you need to do. I can't help you with that. I don't have a megalopolis here. There's a Minneapolis. What's there, right? So There are channels that do that. There is information out there. There's not every prepper is homesteading. As much as we might like to promote that as the ideal. That's the ideal, right? Self-sufficiency. Who was it? I can't remember the channel, and it may have been actually on Twitter. But the real point, and really the ultimate preparedness, is community. Many channels have touched on it and tied in daily on their videos, but community is the ultimate prep, because you can't do everything yourself. Your family group cannot do everything yourself. There is such thing as conservation of effort. Skills and abilities are important. So trying to do everything yourself is I'm not going to say it's a plan to fail, but it's not a strong plan. The lone wolf mentality that was promoted, I don't know when, way back when, is a losing mentality. It's a losing idea. Dying by yourself in the woods 10 years from now it's irrelevant. You're not helping. It's not even selfish, because you're not even helping yourself. Help yourself, help others to help yourself, if that makes sense. So, National Preparedness Month. Prepare to do the things that most affect you, no matter what goes on around you, whether it's any of those big scary things, EMP, solar flare, civil war, nuclear war, but it's what they do to you. Shortage of food supply, shortage of resources, shortage of whatever the things are, no water, no power. That's the real concern is, right? And if you get ready for that, no matter what motivates you, you're ready for a whole host of things. If you have the ability to provide water for yourself where you are at, or at least through a period of time, at least you know how long you have to figure out another plan. If you have 14 days of water stored up, you have 14 days to figure something out when it goes wrong, right? So build on top of that, and know what your limits are, and know what your plan, what you can do with what you have. If you have 3 months of food stocked up, great. We have 3 months of food. If things go bad and my water goes out, I have so much water, but I need more to match up with that 3 months. It's hard to store 3 months of water, by the way. Essentially, in reality, you can't do it. Only in the most extreme homesteading experiences can you store up 3 months of food. But if you're built anything suburban or bigger, it's practically impossible. I'll just say that. So plan accordingly to have alternate methods to resupply yourself. Figure that out. And then just build up from there. It takes the small things at the bottom of that triangle to build up. So that's the real thing, is start small and build up. No matter what motivated you to begin with, really now the purpose of this video is to forget about the big things, focus on the small things to do all the things. Because the likelihood of that big thing is so small, and the likelihood of it directly affecting you and you not being caught up in it directly and being you deceasing from that event is not likely either. You're not, if you're that close to a nuclear weapon, you're not likely to survive anyway. Et cetera, et cetera. There's ways to survive that. If you're close to a big city, good luck. So plan accordingly if you think you need to. I think Praxis Prepper has got probably the best ideas for that if you wanted to look into that. But he's definitely a hardcore homesteader, so you got to get out and away from the city to even think about that. But the EMP, power outage, long-term power outage into society stuff, we'll focus in on the little things first. It's like you talk about in football, blocking and tackling. Can you block? Can you tackle? The flea flicker and the zone blitz and everything else will come later. Since it's college football season, we'll throw that in there for all y'all. You got to focus in on what's really important to begin with before you can do the other things. You don't go from 5th grade math to college algebra overnight. All those types of analogies apply. It's the same with this. Even if you had the money to buy all the things that you needed, like if you had Elon Musk money, right? And you could buy all your bunker and everything, you still would have to learn how to apply it. It still takes time to put your systems together, figure out how you're going to utilize it, how it all ties together. Because if you just pay somebody else to do it, and then you're left with, you got to pay somebody else to do your own security at that point, because you're still not having to figure that out while you got security issues. Many such cases. You can't buy your way out of preparedness. I don't believe. Many people try to do it. Many people are fairly successful at it, you might think, but they're probably also paying other people. And eventually, fiat currency runs out, and if you don't have any wealth really to back it up, then you're really in bad shape. I don't know how Warren Buffett's doing, but he did just cash in like $300 billion in Apple stock or something. He's old. He's handing all that down, but hopefully his descendants have figured out a plan to put that to work and are smart enough to plan so they're not paying people the rest of their lives to do the things for them, because if that can go away real quick. Who was it talking about all the rich people that pay all those former special ops guys to provide their security in the collapse? Like, why would I provide security for you when you were this totally worthless, demonic individual? I mean, yeah, you gave me a good living preparing for this event, and I was doing your security and everything, and now that the balloon goes up, like, you're a liability because you have no moral fiber and no ability to do anything yourself. I am protecting you for no reason, especially if fiat currency is not worth anything. I would think I'd be scared of my security detail if I was some of those people like Bill Gates, for example. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way. So that's some thoughts. Prep hard, people. Live free. Do the things. It's the preparedness month. Don't let the big events drive your cause. Do all the little things to build up, and you'll get there. Don't worry about the nuclear war and the civil war that's impending doom around us, which may or may not happen, but definitely prepare for the little things, and it'll all add up. So, you know what to do, YouTube. It's been a little long, but I hope everybody's doing well. Prep hard, live free. And this is what happens when I talk to y'all too long and my water overflows. You see what happens when you talk too much? Keep it short and to the point, right? Short and to the point.